right then. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for taking time out to come to this workshop session of Advance at AState. And we have a treat today because we have one of our very own members of Advance. Claudia likes to remind me about how she used to be in the ranks, but look at where she is now. She has made it. So it's always good to showcase our own faculty and our mentors so that you can see where things will end up one day, how you can make it through the levels of promotion here at Arkansas State. Quickly, Dr. Claudia Benavides Ambs, is that correct?
Correct.
Is our program coordinator for the BS in Sport Management program. She received her PhD from Texas A&M and her MED from Texas A&M. She received her BA from the Universidad Autónoma de Nuevo León, okay? And her teaching specialties are sport administration and management and sociology of sport. And her research interests are social psychology, organizational behavior, and furthering the diversity literature in its many forms, specifically as it pertains to sport organizations. And I can tell you that Claudia has been a joy to work with and just check on, and we see each other throughout the year, and we always have a lot of catching up to do. But today I just wanted her to talk about some of the things that she's learned along the way as she has made it through the tenure and promotion process and through some professional development opportunities that she has had a chance to take advantage of. So, Dr. Benavides Ambs, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fierce, and welcome everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. And so as you may see on your screen already, if I'm sharing correctly, this is a hands-on presentation and I like paper and pencil, but you can take a moment to grab whatever you need, paper and pencil, or if you're more comfortable minimizing your Zoom screen and just typing on your computer, that is fine. We are going to take a few minutes to reflect on a few things throughout the presentation. And so if you have a preferred way of reflecting through writing, then go ahead and grab that while we go through the little icebreaker that we are going to do. And it is best if you remove your distractions. So if you were planning on answering your emails while you did this you listen to the presentation, or browsing through your Facebook or your Instagram or anything like that, I am going to kindly ask you to maybe leave that for another time, if you are so inclined. And if not, that's okay. Just know that it is going to be a little bit harder to be reflective if you are using that. All right, so if I can figure out, there we go. So the presentation is on aligning or research with your values, or my research with my values. Everybody has their own values and the things they stand for. By the way, I just noticed that I put Benavides Espinosa on this presentation. That's my legal name. I go by my married name, but that's not my legal name. It's a Mexico thing. We don't change or names legally in Mexico, but I don't want to confuse people, so I go by my married name, which I realize might be a little bit confusing. But anyways, so just before we get started, a little bit of an icebreaker, if you will put in the chat in lieu of introductions, because we have a little bit more people than I realized we were gonna have. So just in lieu of introductions, just a little bit of an icebreaker. If you could only have one, what would you have? Sweets or salty snacks?
What were the choices again? Sweets or what?
Salty snacks?
Sweets or salty snacks?
Oh, okay.
Yes. And let's see what we got. Sweets, salty, sweets, 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 salty. Sweets, lots of sweets, people. Couple of salties. Those are good choices. Very good, very good. And what do you prefer? To chill out on the beach or on the mountains? Beach, 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 beach. With all the cold weather, I think we're gonna see a lot of beach. Oh, Lonnie, Dr. Williams, mountains. Natalie, mountains. All right. I'm a beach person.
Is there an answer both? Because
Yeah, I guess you will answer both. You know, beachy mountains. That would be good. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. So now that we have broken the ice, I realized after I got tenure that I was burned out and I didn't know why I was so tired, because I knew to the core of my being that I was doing what God put me on this earth to do, which was teach and do research and, mentor students and hang out with other faculty. Like, it was everything I dreamed of. So why on earth was I so tired all the time? And so I talked my chair into enrolling me in something called the National Center for Faculty Diversity and Development. Actually, a former ADVANCE alum, Dr. Joyce Olushola, who is now at University of Houston, hooked me up with the Faculty Center for the National Center for Faculty Development and Diversity and Development. And I went through all of their free resources and I binge watched them like it was Netflix. It was amazing. Like all of the free webinars, all of the free, their monthly little newsletter or Monday newsletter that they have, and the weekly, everything that they had. I read it, I watched it, I did the homework, and I was like, it's like they were going through my mail, They were like, well, if you're tired, try this. And I'm like, oh, yes. And at this point of the semester, you might be feeling this. And I'm like, how do you know? Get out of my head, people. Because they're tailored specifically to minorities and they know the stressors that we're going through and, the walls that we're hitting as we're trying to navigate academia. And they've seen it time and time again for 20 years. I was like, oh, yes, all of the things. And so they have this thing called the Faculty Success Program, and they lovingly refer to it as the boot camp. And it's a 12-week, super, super intense program. And it literally was like going through a PhD in 12 weeks. It was so hard. And that cost extra, of course, in addition to the membership. And my chair so graciously found the money and paid for it. And I went through that thing. And it's like the sky parted. It was wonderful. They helped me think about all of the steps that I was taking from a different perspective. So one of the lectures, one of the homeworks is, do I really want to do this? And their perspective was, do I really want to be in academia? Do I really want to go for tenure? But I took it as, do I really want to do research on sexual harassment? Because, for me, it's a very unpalatable topic. That's what I do. Like, I stand in front of, hundreds of people talking about sexual harassment and how it's awful. And, I'm another minority woman talking about how, men are looking at us dirty. And it's just one more thing, right? And so is that really what I wanted to do? And so it forced me to reflect on what I stand for and what really was driving the core of my research. And instead of just fighting for a spot, basically, which is what we're all doing, right? Because not everybody that goes to high school finishes high school. Same for a college degree, same for a graduate degree and a postdoc. And not everybody that gets a doctorate gets a tenure job and a tenure track job, and keep going. And not everybody that gets a tenure track job gets tenure, so on and so forth. And so we're always fighting for a stop, and we're going, just through the motions of clawing our way through the system. And we can lose sight of why we are here, why we chose the path that we're on. And so at some point we can look back and be like, we drifted. And what is it that got us here? And yes, we have all these publications and all these presentations and all these classes, and we're fighting for the good scores, but what do those scores represent? What do those publications amount to and presentations amount to? And what are we fighting so hard to get? Is it just the next step, or am I standing for something? And so I look back at some point and I realized that I had a lot of puzzle pieces, but they were all over the place. So this course really helped me reflect on my values and on what I was spending my mental energy and my life energy on my research, because at some point, I was doing research on what I cared about, but I had lost sight on what it was that I cared about. And so I was drained and I was demoralized. And I was just, like I said, going through those motions. And I will hate for that to be the case for anyone else. So how about we take a few minutes to reflect on why you do research on blank, whatever your research is, and really dig deep, right? Yes, you can just say, well, that's what I got trained on. That's what my advisor saw a research gap on when I went through my PhD program. So that's why I write on that. But you can also say, this is what I've been doing for a number of years. So that's what I am going to continue to do. But really, why is it that you care about the things that you're researching about? So let's take 3 minutes and reflect on that. I didn't say it explicitly, but now will be the time to type or write.
Oh, you want to put it in the chat? Okay.
You can put it in the chat, but you can also reflect for yourself. You don't have to make it public reflection if you don't feel comfortable with that. We have about a minute left. All right, time is up. So you did not have to share, but some people did share, and I thank you for that. This is wonderful. Improve educational outcomes for African American students, kindergarten to graduate. Impact the world. Research, identity, family. Oh, I love this. Voice to the voiceless, people of color, cancer survivors, minority, journalists. Oh, that fills my soul. Thank you, Sandra, for sharing. What's PWI?
Predominantly white institution.
Oh, yes, thank you. Yes, women's health. Thank you, Latoya. This is wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. Because I managed to block myself into there. Okay. So once you're reflecting on what you care about, it really helps to clarify your values. And if you need a little bit of help with that, not saying that you do, but if you do, there are wonderful personality tests out there that pretty much spell out your values for you, like the Myers-Briggs test and the DISC assessment and the Enneagram. And I found one online that I give to my students all the time. If you wanted to walk some of your graduate students through this process, there's a free one that's based on Myers-Briggs, and it's like 16 personalities, and it gives you a super comprehensive little answer. Once you take the test online, it's fast and it's free, and it's kind of fun for the students. And so if you wanted to go through that, it is on the resource sheet that we have. So now let's take a little bit of time to reflect on our core values as an individual, as a person, and how that is reflected on this research that we're talking about, on this research that we're doing, how the two of them are connected. It's also a 3-minute timer. And feel free to share it or not share it, keep it personal if it's close to home. We have about a minute left. right. Thank you for sharing, for the people that share. Let me move on with the presentation and we will go over answers at the end if we have time. So back to the question. The question was, do I really want to do this? The question that we're answering is, do I really want to do research on blank? So how does your research fit your values? How does my research fit my values? And so, you know, what is the point of knowing if athletes are sexually harassed for me? What is the point of knowing if coaches are sexually harassed, or if men coaches harass male athletes or women athletes, or if women coaches harass women athletes? Who cares? Why is it important? So another one of the homework assignments from the faculty bootcamp was looking at our academic careers as a book with many chapters. So us as professors tend to want to do all the things for all the people at all times. And that's why we get burned out, right? Because we want to do all the surveys and we want to do all the advising and we want to do all the teaching to perfection, and we want to do all the presentations and all the publishing and write all the books at the same time, and all the research and all the things. So in looking at a career as a book with many chapters, the class encouraged us to focus on one chapter. What chapter are you on right now? If you are on your pre-tenure chapter, then the point is to hit your tenure marks, so that on the next chapter, you can do the next thing on your book. And so then I'm applying this to my research specifically, and, you know, because I'm not worried about making tenure anymore. I'm past that chapter. And so I am now looking at my research specifically and saying, where do I want my research to go? And I'm skipping to the end of the book and saying, what societal impact do I want to make with this that really touches on my values, to the core of my being, says, yes, this is really what's important about who harasses who, like, you know. And so what do I want to see happen if I skip at the end of the book? What is it? What I personally want to see at the end of the story is, you know, policies and structural changes that are going to help societal change, ultimately, not just in sports, but that will spill over to other areas of societies, right? So then I have to start at the beginning, and the beginning is first measuring to understand what is happening, so that on the next chapter I can build on that, and on the next chapter I can build on that, but I can't start at the end. So I have to start at the beginning and know why the beginning matters. Always keeping that in mind, so that I don't, you know, go chasing rabbits over there with other research projects that distract me, that are fun, but distract me from my end, that is solidifying my role as a researcher and my contribution to society, that keeps me filled up and energized and revitalized, as opposed to burned out and tired and maybe even bored with research. So that's where I was going with the book of my academic life and the book of my research. So in the book of your academic life, what do you want to do? What does your last chapter look like? Is what I want to know next. So reflect on that, take a few minutes, and this is a big one, really dig deep, okay? Oh, it's big, that's why I'm giving you 5 minutes. don't limit yourself to just one either. I gave you one because I want this time to be about you. We have about 2 minutes left.
What did you tell to Colin?
All right, thank you everyone for sharing. And like I said earlier, we will go through those at the end when we have a little bit of for discussion time. So then we have to get some perspective, right? And reflect on what that last chapter, the end of the book, what it looked like. And then once we did that, and once we skipped through the end and we know how is it that we're going to impact the industry or the classrooms or the educational system as a whole or society, then we have to kind of like backtrack from there, take steps back and break it down into chewable pieces, into bite-sized goals. And because we can't eat an elephant in one bite, right? We have to eat it one bite at a time. So for this, you can either do a mind map. I'm a very linear person, so I like outlines of things. And so, but there are people that are just very, very colorful and very imaginative. So, you know, mind mapping helps, logic modeling helps. So how is it that you're gonna get to that goal? Backtrack a little bit and break down the steps from that big goal that you just set for yourself, from that big project, from that big impact that you want to make. Then what are smaller impacts? And then from that, what are smaller impacts until you get to a reasonable size project? And then once you're there, what is it that you need? What are your inputs? That's why I put here a logic model, and on the resource sheet that you are going to get after this presentation, there is an example of a logic model that I have, in which I have my entire thing of my book with many chapters, and all of my outputs and my outcomes are the societal impacts that I want to make, and everything is backed up all the way to even I need a GA to help me grade so that I can free up time to write. Everything from the tiniest bit all the way through, you know, I want society to change. The whole thing is not finished. I'm still working on it, but you know, you're welcome to it in all its glory. You know, look, you know, look at its unfinished glory. You're welcome to it. And so this logic model, if you have worked with the grants office on the 6th floor of the library, if you haven't worked with them, I strongly encourage you to go shake hands with them. Well, maybe not shake hands because COVID, but wave at them through the window and start collaborating with them, because they are fabulous. Also, the AState Foundation folks, they are fabulous as well. And they can help you start writing those grants and those foundation grants, either the private ones or the public ones, for all those resources and those inputs that you are going to need to start shaping these things, either internal or external. And, you know, we all got to start somewhere. So let's get started and let's get you plugged in. And if you haven't talked to them, feel free. And Dr. Baker, hi. You need to say something?
I'm sorry, I don't know if I came in a few minutes late, but I had a question that you were just saying about grants.
Yes.
Are you taking questions, or I can wait to the end if not?
Go ahead.
Oh, in terms of working with the grants office, have you found that there's more support for, or there's less support for social sciences in terms of grants from the grants office?
You know, the grants that I have applied to are all social sciences. I have not applied for any, like NIH. I have applied for NSF, and I have found a ton of support from that office, and even in the form of workshops as well. So I haven't seen any resistance. Now, there has been some turnover in that office since. So I don't know, I haven't worked with the new folks or whoever took over for Emily, but I haven't seen much resistance or friction there.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions? All right, good deal. So let me then, so what do you need at each step? So, you know, I broke it down on multiple, like, I don't know, 10 research projects. And so what do I need for each research project? That will be my inputs, right? I need time to write. I need time to collect data. I'm going to need participants, and some of those participants sometimes need stipends. I'm going to need a research assistant to help me collect the data or enter the data, or help me research the literature, like pull the literature from the library databases. And so those are my inputs. And then what is it that I want to produce research-wise? So do I want a presentation? Do I want a book chapter or a whole book or a publication? Those are going to be my outcomes. And then what is it that I want out of society, like societal changes or societal impact. What am I bringing out into the world? That will be my output. And let me get out of this presentation to show you a little bit of what I'm talking about here. So this is the little worksheet that I was talking about. It has the link for the faculty diversity or the resource sheet, the link for the faculty diversity website, the link for the every semester needs a plan video where it's just a free video where they talk about planning your summer, but you can scale that to the 16 weeks of a semester and just strategically plan your semester. I've been doing this for 4 years and I absolutely love it. And I am way more productive when I strategically plan my semester than when I don't. The link to the online test that I was telling you that I have my students do, and then the link to my logic map. And so if I click on this, I do everything on Google Docs. I love Google Docs. So the input, everywhere from departmental resources with grad assistants and what I have my grad assistants do, like I delegate some of my grading. They do that. They help me collect data for which they have to have IRB approval and city and all of that training. They do all of that. Professional development funds for travel and for software and for training, and then internal grants, what type of internal grants are out there. And so I'm always looking out for those, the FRAC grants and the URA grants and all of that when we do have the funding. And then I'm looking out for external funding. Spencer is a small grant, $50,000, and that is a private foundation. And this is what I asked for on it. The NEH fellowship, that is one of those social science ones, Dr. Baker, that you were asking about. And that one, it's basically write a book, we pay you $60,000. It's not easy to get it, but it's out there. And the Department of Justice, some of my research aligned with them. So it's one multi-year grant that I am considering. I haven't applied for it yet. And so, these are some of the activities or the research that the different research projects that I'm working on, the direct products that I plan to get out of those. And then I was going to point in my screen like you're looking at me in person, the short term, the medium term, and the long term outcomes. And if you, when you get it, if you scroll down all the way to the end, the outcomes build on each other's. And at the very bottom, I have the external factors and the assumptions that I'm making. And I had to have COVID-19 built into there. Dr. Fierce, yes, ma'am. I can't hear you.
Did you say this was a typical semester, or are you showing us several semesters?
Oh, I'm showing you my entire life.
Oh, okay.
Yes, this is my book of many chapters. Yes, a typical semester will have 1 or 2 research projects. Yes, I am not that productive, ma'am. I teach 12 credits a term. Yes. This is like in all of my life looked the panoramic view, the skylight view. Yeah. And you have access to all of this, and as it's a live document, so you guys are gonna see me fiddle with it if you keep opening it. Yeah. All right. So where were we? Right here. If I can get control of my PowerPoint again. All right, so hands-on, what do your chapters look like? So we already explored the end of the book. So now let's explore a little bit of the middle chapters and beginning chapters. Like let's start breaking it down all the way into what you need. And would you like me to reopen that logic plan so you can see it? Or do you want to see this slide?
Yeah, once I think I'll just kind of take a picture or something just so that I remember the top headlines.
Do you want me to put I can put the link on the chat.
Oh yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah. No problem. There you go. Oops. I didn't send it to everyone. There we go. Here's the link. And okay, so this is the meat and potatoes, okay, of the presentation. Well, I hope I didn't just offend any vegetarians or vegans. Sorry. This is where the rubber meets the road of the presentation. So let's get to it. 10 minutes, and you have the link on the chat of the whole thing. It's not perfectly done. My apologies. You probably can do this better than me, but you got this. Okay, let's do it. We have about 3 minutes left. All right, time is up. I hope that was a productive 10 minutes. So, best practices for a productive semester. Once you backtrack everything and you are aligned with your values, hopefully you're going to have more energy because what you're doing is filling up your tank instead of having a slow leak, right? So plan strategically. Watch that video. I really can't encourage you enough. And I'm going to have it on the last slide as well for you to have a link. It's a hands-on video like this one. It lasts an hour, but it will change your semester. And then write every day, even if it's 30 minutes, but with a goal in mind, right? Because you already plan strategically. You're already standing very firmly on what you believe, and your research is pointing, all of your research steps are pointing in the same direction. You're not taking 10 steps in different directions, you're taking steps forward. And so your research is helping you put energy in your tank, you're moving forward, and then you're writing every day. Now be compassionate with yourself because, you know, the semester, we get to the thick of the semester and we drop the ball and we can write every day, and then we're beating ourselves up, and that drains us too. And so consistency over perfection. If there is 1 week or 2 weeks or, you know, a couple of weeks in the semester or every once and again that we can write every day, that is fine. Consistency over perfection is key here. And then assess and adjust. Just because we set a goal to write 30 minutes every day, it doesn't mean that we are going to be upset if we don't, or just because we set a goal to write 3 grants in 1 semester and we didn't hit that goal, it doesn't mean that we can't, write a grant this semester, a grant in the summer, and a grant in the spring. Or, because we say that we were going to get that article out by the end of April and it didn't happen, it doesn't mean we can't get it out, assess the situation and adjust it and say, okay, well, maybe I'm going to get it out at the end of May instead. And so being compassionate with ourselves and not beating ourselves up, not meeting our goals and adjusting our goals is not the same as not having goals, right? So that's always something to keep in mind. So if you have any questions, now is the time to ask them. If you want to contact me later and talk about all the other things that I learned in this course and discuss all of that, I am more than happy to do that. And if you want any of the resources, they are right there on the right of your screen. But yeah, now will be the time for questions, comments, or concerns.
This is Natalie with a question.
Yes, ma'am. Hi,
Your
ma'am.
timer, the timer you're using,
Yes.
what website did you use for that?
No, I Googled it and I downloaded so many. I'm gonna add it to the resource page.
Oh, please do that because my students are teaching and I was looking for something visual for them to see so I don't have to interrupt when they're to end. So that'll be very appreciated. And thank you so much for walking us through these steps. I really benefited from it.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. And yes, I Googled and Googled and Googled and tried many different ones and I settled on that one. The resource page is also a link, the one that I showed you earlier. Let me move from this page so that I can show you that one. This resource page is also a Google link that I sent to Dr. Fierce. I will add the timer right there. Once I find it again. And
Okay.
then I will just send it to you. Dr. Baker, hi.
Hey, thank you so much for your time and energy and joy. I have a question in terms of planning, because I think individually I can plan really well, but do you work collaboratively with other scholars? And if so, do you find that your planning process looks different? Or do you just do what you individually have to do? Or are you looking at, I guess, the whole?
That is
I collaborate a lot.
question. Yeah, it took me about 36 weeks. So 3 semesters of planning almost to figure out that I had to, include the human side of other scholars into my planning. Because then I was like, oh, I'm depending on this co-author and they're not doing their part as fast as I want them to, because hello, they're human. And me, myself, and I underestimate the time it takes me to write things by a factor of 2.5. And it turns out that that's like a human condition. Like if you have ever worked with a contractor and they're like, oh yeah, your bedroom is gonna be ready in 2 weeks. Yeah, make that 7 weeks and, and triple the price. Same for academics, right? And so yeah, I can totally write this over the summer, make that middle of the fall. And so same for the co-authors, right? And so I always build in extra padding for writing with co-authors and, but always talk to them ahead of time. I say always, I try to talk to them ahead of time and negotiate all this and share with them what I have learned through this program as well, just as openly as I'm sharing with you all, because that's just my personality. I'm just like, hey, so I learned this and, 2.5 times. And so if you think you're going to have it ready by the end of May, that's great, but I'm going to put it in my calendar by April, right? Or June, sorry, I'm thinking March and say May. I'm going to put it in my calendar by June. And, I hope that's fine with you because it's the human condition. It's nothing against you, but let's work together on this and let's check in on this date. And so I work it in with them and I work it in my planning and I then pad my planning as well. And then as much compassion for them as I extend for myself. And then I have just learned that there are just co-authors that you work really well with and co-authors that I just don't work really well with.
Absolutely. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Are there any other questions? Well, Claudia, thank you so much for taking time out to present this very productive workshop. And I was just sitting here thinking about how I'll probably share some of this information with a colleague that I'm kind of mentoring in my unit, and because this is so helpful. Even though I'm kind of in a different stage in my career, you might be there too. And I was still finding that there are things that I can use for some other goals, like you said, to complete this or write this last chapter of this book that I'm trying to do. So that is very helpful.
Yeah.
I was just curious, did you apply for that $60,000 grant yet?
I haven't yet. It's due in April.
Okay.
Yeah, it's due in April.
Oh,
Now I have a plan of it. They have an 11% acceptance rate, and so I have a plan to apply and reapply and reapply until I get it, because basically what they do is they pay you $60,000 as a salary for a year, and they give you a year sabbatical to write a book.
okay.
And they make it to where your university does not give you a load or anything. You have to stop working.
I know. I was a reader for the category dealing with literature and media last year.
Okay.
And it took about 3 weeks to read all of them. They sent me 25.
Oh, Lord.
I learned so much just reading them. So it's worthwhile because,
Yeah.
and I took my time because I know those colleagues really put a lot of work in those proposals.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, see, and now that I know that you were one of the readers, I am going to go tap that resource for when I fill out my application.
Yeah, I mean, they're very detailed. I think, and I was wondering, I said, am I gonna read one that's not together and bad? I think I found one that had a few holes in it, but for the most part, oh my goodness, it was some good stuff. So I'm glad I didn't have to make the decision. So
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, quickly, what grant is that? Sorry.
NEH
Fellowship.
category they gave me was like literature, media, but it was the National Endowment for the Humanities.
I see. Thank you.
I'll put the resource there. Yep.
Thank you. And yeah, I kind of, this is more like a thank you rather than, a question. So actually I was thinking about an area that I had to explore. So I'm originally from a country called Nepal, and we hardly have any scholarship or any kind of research articles published about communication in that area. Since I'm a communication professional here, there was something that I wanted to do about, things out there. And now I'm pretty sure what I'm going to do in my next sabbatical. So not in this coming one, but the one afterwards. But we are actually starting to, because there are so few of us here, in communication, like a handful, maybe 5 or 6, maybe not even that many. And we are trying to form a group, we're trying to network now. And our first meeting is March 26th actually. So I think this would be a good starting point for me to kind of discuss about all these kind of thing, because it's planning to write a kind of a comprehensive history of communication and advertising and journalism in Nepal, because there's hardly any work and it needs a lot of travel and a lot of collaboration. So kind of your exercise actually helped me kind of think about what all is required and what all do I need to do, and ultimately what am I doing it for. So it actually, when I was writing those things, I actually realized that, okay, I want to enhance the scholarship and international engagement of aspiring scholars in Nepal, because that's my way of contributing to kind of where I come from. So thank you. It was a very helpful exercise. Just wanted to share that. Thank you.
That warms up my heart. That's good.
Dr. Ambs, one other thing, do you find that blocking days out helps you? Because this semester I had a situation where I could teach on certain days and have certain days to work. That helps so much to not have to stop and walk down the room to a classroom, to just sit there and stay focused. And that helped me a lot.
Yes, for me personally, I know this doesn't work necessarily for everybody, but I like to batch my work. So I have certain days where I grade, and that's all I do because my brain doesn't switch easily from one task to the next. So I grade that day, and then I answer emails, on multiple days a week, but like for a block of time. And and so yes, blocking days out for writing is definitely good. Although I also make it a point to write at least 30 minutes every day, even if it's not a day dedicated to writing, because it helps me keep the projects alive in my mind, and they keep moving forward, even if it's just a little bit, just a little bit, just a little bit. And then when you're sleeping, of course, all the psychologists know this better than me, but all the people in psychology, but when you're sleeping, then you process that information, and then you process while you're not working on it. And so the action of writing every single day takes a different thought process than binge writing, right? Or writing on one single day a week. So even if I block out whole days where I work on projects, I make it a point to write every single day for at least 30 minutes. And then there are days that, all I can get is 15 minutes, and that's okay. Compassion is the word. But yeah, I was gonna say a word on mentoring. I have learned that when I rely on a single person, and this is for me, right? When I rely on a single person to try to get mentoring from, it's kind of codependent a little bit. And so what I have learned that works really well for myself is, okay, I need, for example, I'm going to need some guidance to write this NEH application. Well, now that I know that Lily has some experience in that area, I'm going to ask her some questions. And I also know that Cherise has some experience writing a lot of books. So I'm going to go to Cherise to, be part of that. And so I'm going to go to two different people for mentorship on one thing, but I also want to know a little bit of mentorship for something on my personal life with, something else. And so I might go to someone else for that. And so trying to figure out the things that you need in multiple areas and going to multiple people and creating a network of mentors, instead of going to the same person over and over and over and over again, because that person may get it right 80% of the time, but then 20% of the time, we don't know what we're talking about, even as, as much as we know 80% of the time, as people that have been at Arkansas State for forever, there are things about Arkansas State that I don't know about, right? And so when I'm mentoring new faculty, I'm like, yeah, you need to find other people to rely on as well. Right. And so if I can step out of my topic today a little bit and tell all the people that are on the tenure track to rely on multiple mentors for multiple things, then
I agree. Yeah.
That will be a big one that I could have used when I was in your shoes.
Very good. Yeah, that's excellent. You definitely need different people helping you navigate different aspects of the profession, like you said, your personal life, research, writing. It helps. Any other questions? Well, thank you so much again. And I will be sending out information about the workshop that we'll have in April with Dr. Ruth Supko-Owens. She's the incoming director of the Faculty Center. And she'll also be speaking at Learn at AState next Thursday, I believe, next Wednesday, April 17th. So if you get a chance to listen to some of the presentations at Learn at AState, Dr. Supko-Owens will be one of those people. She'll only have, I think they give you so many seconds, a minute or whatever, but she'll be engaging us in another really interesting workshop next month. So Dr. Williams, did you want to say anything? I see you signed on. As always, we're always glad to have you there. He is a published author. Go ahead.
No, great job. I enjoyed listening to it and gave me some motivation. I might even take this bag out of my office. It's been here 3 years with this project in it.
Okay,
this weekend as well. But no, I truly enjoyed it. Thank you, Claudia.
thank you. Well, okay then, Dr. Claudia, are you going to send things to me to send to the whole group, or because I know a lot of people couldn't be here today, you want to just send it to me and then I'll disperse it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay then. Well, thank you all so much and have a great weekend. And we'll see you again in a few weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you.